The silent heart wakes before dawn, carrying a weight it never names. It listens to the breath of darkness, where memories walk barefoot and slow. No one hears its quiet questions, stitched into the ribs like hidden scars. The world speaks loudly outside the window, but the heart answers only in sighs. It learned early the art of stillness, how to smile without spilling the ache. Words tremble at the edge of its mouth, then fall back into a well of fear. Promises once flew like paper birds, torn now by the winds of time. Hope learned to sit patiently, waiting for a knock that never came. The silent heart counts passing seasons, not by flowers, but by losses. Spring reminds it of beginnings unfinished. Summer burns with unanswered longing. Autumn writes letters in falling leaves. Winter seals them with frozen tears. Every night the moon becomes a mirror, reflecting a face the heart hides. It remembers laughter like distant thunder, echoing from a vanished sky. It remembers hands that once held tight, now loosened by the years apart. In crowded rooms, it feels alone, a shadow among breathing bodies. It speaks fluently in silence, yet stumbles when asked to explain pain. Dreams visit softly, then leave quickly, afraid of waking old wounds. Sleep comes late and leaves early, like a guest who knows the sorrow. The heart listens to the clock's footsteps, each second stepping away from joy. Tears rise, but learn restraint, falling inward instead of down the cheek. Sometimes the heart envies the rain, free to cry without being questioned. Sometimes it envies the wind, able to scream across open fields. But the heart remains contained, a storm locked behind calm eyes. It beats steadily, faithfully, even when faith feels thin as dust. Memories line up like photographs, some smiling, some torn at the edges. The heart touches each one gently, as if pain might bruise again. There was a time of bright believing, when love felt endless and sure. Now belief is careful and quiet, wrapped in layers of learned doubt. The silent heart forgives often, though forgiveness is rarely returned. It gives chances like candles in darkness, watching them flicker, watching them die. Still, it keeps a small flame alive, hidden deep where despair can't reach. That flame whispers of tomorrow, of healing slow but possible. If you listen closely to the quiet, you might hear the heart's soft plea, not for pity, not for rescue, but for understanding without demand. To sit beside it without questions, to let silence be enough. For within that shared stillness, the silent heart begins to breathe again. The silent heart carries its history carefully, like glass wrapped in old cloth. It has learned that truth can cut, even when spoken with gentle lips. So it chooses quiet over confession, safety over being fully seen. It watches others love loudly, laughing without fear of loss. A small ache rises in response, not jealousy, but tired wonder. How do they risk so much feeling? How do they fall without counting scars? The heart once tried that courage, once leapt without measuring depth. The fall was long, the landing cruel, and no hands reached down in time. Since then, it walks the edges, never too close to joy's cliff. Loneliness does not always scream. Sometimes it hums like a low wind. It sits beside the heart at dusk, sharing space without introduction. Together they watch the sun surrender, painting the sky with endings. The silent heart talks to the stars, asking questions it never asks people. Why do bonds loosen with time? Why do promises fade like ink? The stars answer only with light, ancient, distant, honest in silence. There are days the heart feels strong, almost proud of its endurance. It carries burdens others dropped, keeps moving despite the weight. Strength, it learns, is not loud. Sometimes it is just staying. Yet even strong hearts grow weary. Even silent ones long to rest. At night, the heart loosens its grip, lets sorrow spill into dreams. There it cries without restraint. There it speaks in broken truths. Morning comes with practiced composure. The mask slips back into place. The world sees calm, measured breaths, never the storm folded inside. The heart accepts this misunderstanding. It has learned not to correct it. Love still visits, cautiously now, knocking softer than before. The heart listens from behind the door, unsure whether to answer. It wants connection, not collapse, warmth, not another lesson in loss. So it opens slowly, inch by inch, testing sincerity like fragile ground. Some stay, some walk away, each leaving a different mark. The heart keeps no score. It is tired of counting wounds. In its quiet wisdom, the heart knows sorrow is not the end of feeling. It is proof that love once lived, that something mattered deeply. And though pain reshaped its language, it did not steal its humanity. One day, perhaps, the heart will speak, not loudly, not all at once. Just enough truth to be understood, just enough hope to be held. Until then, it beats patiently, a quiet witness to its own survival. The sorrow of the silent heart is not weakness, but depth. Not emptiness, but unshared fullness. And in its stillness lives a promise that even muted love endures, waiting for ears gentle enough to hear. The silent heart learns to live with echoes, voices of the past that never fully fade. They rise in quiet moments, between one breath and the next, not to wound, but to remind that time does not erase, it softens. It walks through familiar streets differently now, seeing ghosts where others see walls. A bench becomes a memory, a song becomes a wound reopened. Still, the heart keeps walking, because stopping would mean drowning. There are questions it no longer asks, not because answers don't exist, but because some truths arrive too late. The heart understands timing's cruelty, how love can be right and still be wrong in moment. It has mastered the art of listening, hearing what is said and unsaid. It notices pauses, broken sentences, eyes that look away too quickly. The heart knows silence speaks loudly. It has lived in that language for years. Sometimes it aches for simplicity, for days when joy was unguarded, when laughter came without permission and trust didn't need proof. Those days feel like borrowed light now, beautiful, brief, and unrecoverable. The silent heart forgives itself slowly for loving too deeply, too honestly. It releases the guilt of hope, the shame of wanting more. Love was never the mistake, only the hands it was placed into. In solitude, the heart becomes reflective, not bitter, but thoughtful. It studies its own cracks, finding patterns instead of blame. Every fracture tells a story. Every scar proves endurance. The world often misunderstands quiet souls, mistaking calm for emptiness. They do not see the oceans beneath, the storms folded neatly inside. The heart does not correct them. It no longer needs to be explained. There are moments of unexpected peace when sorrow loosens its grip. A child's laughter, a drifting cloud, a kindness without agenda. In these moments, the heart rests, remembering it is still alive. Love, when it returns, comes differently, less demanding, more sincere. It does not shout or rush. It waits and observes. The heart watches carefully, learning the rhythm before dancing again. Even if love never stays, the heart knows it can survive. It has survived absence, betrayal, distance, unanswered prayers. What remains is quiet strength, tempered by loss, refined by time. The sorrow of the silent heart is not endless darkness. It is twilight, where night and light meet gently. a space where healing begins unseen and hope learns to whisper again. The silent heart becomes a keeper of moments, small, almost invisible fragments of life. A shared smile from a stranger, the warmth of sunlight through dusted air. It gathers these quietly, as proof that softness still exists. Pain no longer shocks the heart. It arrives like an old visitor, not welcomed, but expected, given a seat and left alone. The heart has learned resistance only deepens wounds. Acceptance lets them pass. There are nights when the heart feels heavy, as if gravity has chosen it alone. Breathing feels deliberate then, each inhale an act of will. Yet the heart continues, because stopping has never been an option. It wonders sometimes who it would be without all it has endured. Would it be louder, more reckless with joy? The question lingers unanswered and slowly loses its importance. The heart no longer seeks completion in others. It has learned the danger of that hunger. Instead, it learns companionship with itself, sitting in silence without fear. Loneliness fades when self-belonging grows, and the heart begins to feel whole. Grief reshapes the heart's voice, not erasing it, but refining it. Words become careful, intentional. Silence becomes sacred ground. Not everything needs to be spoken. Some truths live better unshared. The heart notices time differently now, how quickly moments dissolve. It stops rushing through days, starts standing still inside them. Presence becomes its quiet rebellion, a refusal to be lost again. There is beauty in endurance, though it is rarely celebrated. The heart honors itself in private for surviving what broke others. Strength is not absence of pain, it is continuing with grace. When tears come, they are gentle, not desperate, not ashamed. The heart allows them passage. Knowing release is not weakness. Crying becomes a form of prayer, heard even when unanswered. The silent heart no longer begs fate, it speaks in understanding tones. If joy comes, it will welcome it. If sorrow stays, it will endure. Balance is found in acceptance, and peace grows quietly there. One day, someone may notice the silence, not as emptiness, but as depth. They may sit without filling the space, listen without demanding sound, and the heart, sensing safety, may finally speak its truth. Until that day, it waits without bitterness, living, breathing, loving softly. The sorrow of the silent heart is no longer a wound alone. It is a teacher, a testament to survival wrapped in stillness. The silent heart grows familiar with patience, the slow art of waiting without demand. It understands that rushing feelings only scatters what needs to settle. So it moves at the speed of healing, which is always slower than pain. It notices how silence changes shape, sometimes heavy, sometimes kind. There are silences that suffocate, and silences that shelter. The heart chooses the latter now, using quiet as a place to rest. In crowded days, it feels distant, like watching life through glass. People speak of plans and futures, their voices bright with certainty. The heart listens politely, holding dreams that remain unnamed. It no longer competes with happiness, no longer compares its wounds. Everyone carries something unseen, everyone hides a private ache. This knowing softens judgment, and compassion takes root. The silent heart learns that closure is not always an ending conversation. Sometimes it is acceptance without apology, a door gently closed from within. The heart stops revisiting old rooms, stops hoping echoes will answer back. It finds comfort in routine, in repeated mornings and familiar nights. A cup held warm between hands, a prayer whispered without words. Stability becomes a quiet blessing, something once overlooked. There are moments when joy surprises it, arriving unannounced and brief. A sudden laugh escapes its guard, a lightness it almost forgot. The heart allows these moments, does not question their duration. Loss has taught the heart gratitude, not for what was taken, but for what was once given. Love existed, and that matters. Pain cannot erase the truth of something that was real. The silent heart becomes less afraid of endings, seeing them as transformations instead. Nothing truly disappears. It simply changes form within us. Memories become guidance. Absence becomes understanding. It stops asking why it was chosen for such deep feeling. Instead, it accepts its nature, a heart built for depth, not noise. Some hearts are oceans, never meant to be shallow. As time continues its quiet work, the sorrow grows lighter to carry. Not gone, but integrated, woven into the heart's strength. The ache no longer defines it. It simply accompanies it. One evening, without warning, the heart will realize it is calm. Not happy, not broken, just steady and present. And in that still realization, healing will quietly complete another step. The sorrow of the silent heart will remain part of its story, but no longer the opening line. It becomes a chapter of depth, one that taught the heart how to live gently and endure fully. The silent heart begins to trust time, not as a healer that erases, but as a companion that teaches. Each passing day smooths an edge, rounds a memory's sharpest corner, making it easier to hold. It learns that survival is creative, requiring invention in small ways. Smiles learned again in fragments, joy rebuilt from scattered pieces. The heart does not rush reconstruction. It honors the ruins before rebuilding. There are mornings when sorrow is light, barely a shadow behind the chest. On those days, the heart feels almost free, almost surprised by its own ease. It walks a little taller then, as if testing forgotten wings. Other days arrive weighted with remembrance, and the heart bows to their heaviness. It no longer fights these tides, knowing resistance only deepens ache. Surrender becomes a quiet strength, a form of inner wisdom. The silent heart grows skilled at boundaries, learning where to give and where to guard. It understands that openness without safety is another name for harm. So it opens with discernment, selectively, intentionally, bravely. It stops romanticizing suffering, no longer wearing pain as proof. Endurance is enough. It owes no explanation for its scars. Healing does not require spectacle, only honesty with oneself. The heart notices how often it was strong when it felt weakest, how it carried others while barely holding itself. This realization brings gentleness inward, a compassion long overdue. In quiet reflection, the heart thanks itself for not giving up when escape was tempting, for choosing breath again and again, even when hope was silent. Gratitude turns inward, becoming a steady source of warmth. The silent heart no longer defines love by intensity alone. It seeks consistency, respect, presence, the calm that does not wound. Love, it learns, should feel like safety, not survival. As trust grows slowly within, fear loosens its grip. The heart begins to imagine again, soft visions without pressure. Dreams return quietly, knocking gently, asking permission. One day, the heart may love fully again, not recklessly, not fearfully, but with awareness shaped by loss and courage refined by time. That love will be different, deeper, steadier, true. Until then, the heart continues its work, living faithfully inside each moment. The sorrow of the silent heart has not vanished, but it has transformed into wisdom, a quiet light guiding every step.